If you've never heard of Auer Automotive LED fog lights for your Toyota, you gotta watch this video. It's an OEM grade, high quality component that you can usually only get at your dealer. They've got a really interesting product here called the Toyota LED Fog Light 2-in-1. Not only does it use a high-end LED projector for your main fog beam pattern, it also has a ring of LEDs around the perimeter with a switch in your dash for a daytime running light function. Stay tuned while we compare it to the competition and show you why we're choosing Auer Automotive. If you've never heard of the brand Auer Automotive for Toyota lighting products, I'm not surprised. Until now, they've been largely reserved for dealers. Generally, if you go to the Toyota dealer and say, I want to get my 2018 Toyota, but I want LED fog lights or an LED bed light, they'll add it on, and you'll think you're getting a Toyota light, but chances are you're getting something from Auer Automotive. It's super high quality, OEM grade equipment, and when I show you the front and back, you're going to see some pretty similar comparisons to the factory lighting that comes on the Toyotas. First of all, we have a hardened, UV resistant polycarbonate lens with the Auer Automotive logo etched in the lens. It also says DOT and SAE down here. And if I turn it around, you'll see a big finned heatsink and the same type of adjustment mechanism as the factory fog light. You can also see that the bracketry is the same or similar as the OEM fog lights. So you're going to get the same type of mounting configuration, the same type of adjustments as you would with your stock unit. That means you unscrew the old one and screw in the new one. Now, the Auer Automotive product comes with the install instructions. So if you have any questions, you can go to their website and download that to see exactly where every wire goes. Now, the OEM LED fog light that we're talking about is off the new 2018 Tundra. But the Tundra, the Tacoma, and the 4Runner all share the exact same fog light. That means you could take the OEM LED fog light off the new Tundra, the 1794 and the Platinum Edition, and put it on your 4Runner, Tacoma, or Tundra. However, the Auer Automotive is also a direct replacement and it has two functions. The OEM LED fog does a pretty good job at illuminating the road correctly, but it doesn't have the DRL function like the Auer unit does. It might sound like a lot to do this install, but it's really not that bad. I think we've got a total of 12 connections and 2 of them are just your original fog light wiring. So starting at the back of the fog light housing, we've got 2 connectors, a large one and a small one. Both have 2 wires. And the factory H16 wiring goes here so that your fog lights just work and they power up exactly like stock. Nothing changes with the operation of your fog light except that they'll be brighter and LED. The smaller connection goes to the 6-foot long extension harness. So those just plug in. And I've got this coiled up so we can see the whole thing, but it stretches from one end of the bumper to the other. And that goes to a couple connections on the driver. The driver gets mounted, and then you've got one connection that goes to the main switch wiring harness. We got that. Then you plug in your relay. You run your wiring to under the dash. We have a ground, we have a power, and we have a headlight signal wire to automatically dim the DRL. You can find the instructions on the website in a document. Lastly, you run your wiring up to the dash, pop out the knockout, put in the new DRL switch, and that plugs in. At this point, you should be able to turn your DRL on the fog light, and you should be able to turn your fog light on also. The way the switch works after you have everything installed is when it's in the off position, you get nothing out of the DRL. Your main fog light beam still works correctly, but the LEDs around the perimeter don't do anything when your new DRL switch is off. Now, when you have everything wired in and you turn the DRL switch on, that little LED on the switch will illuminate. At that point in time, with the headlights off, the DRL will go to full power. When the headlights are on, plus your switch is on, the DRL dims so as to not interfere with other lighting on the vehicle. It's a very intuitive and appropriate operation for this system. So you've got Auer Automotive, you've got Morimoto, you've got the OEM housings, and then you've got a few different generic fog light housings that we found on eBay. You're going to find these from different sellers under different brands, so I can't call this one brand number 1 and brand letter B or whatever. Like, they're generic, they usually get shipped directly from China, there's no brand on it. And I want to compare these to the other options so you can see what your options are. So when you're shopping online and you see something that looks like this with the U-bar shaped daytime running light, you know it's this one. It is a universal fog light that has a different bracket depending on the application. You've got the wiring that comes out, so you've got your H11, H16 connector that fits your factory fog light wiring, and then you've got another connector that turns on the DRL. So you would wire in a wire harness to connect to this, and when you want the DRL to work, that'll turn on. Generally speaking, this style of light has a very poor quality lens. They leak, they chip, and they pit. And even right now, I can see that there's some silicone missing from where the lens seals on the housing. So I bet if we did a torture test, this one wouldn't hold up very well. Next you have the even worse reflector style multi-LED fog light. These are notorious for being terrible. They're bluish white looking, they aren't bright, and they fail constantly. Check out how the wiring works. You've got a regular looking halogen light bulb socket on the back, but with this one, with the OEM one, when you twist it off, you have a bulb. With this generic LED reflector, you actually have the wiring for your LED. So it's not really a purpose-built housing. It almost looks like they took a old reflector housing and they installed some LED guts to it. Kind of an interesting design. All of these are going to mount the same. They're going to mount just like your factory fog lights. The thing that you need to look out for is what we're going to show you next: the beam pattern, the light color, the brightness intensity, things like that. And if you know anybody who's tried these, they fail. Lastly is the one that looks just like the new OEM LED fog light housing. Here you have the new 2018 Tundra LED fog light direct from Toyota. And here you have the generic Chinese knockoff that we got on eBay. They look almost identical. Very similar design all around. Obviously somebody got their hands on the OEM Toyota version and they just copied it. It's cheaper, it's not as bright, and it's not as durable. Now we've got all the fog lights set up at a fixed point facing the wall at about 20 feet. We're going to use the digital lux meter and test the maximum brightness of each fog light so that we can compare them against each other. The lux isn't a good number for rating against other things outside of this test, so only use our data to compare one fog light to the other in this environment. The original halogen fog light creates 180 maximum lux. It's quite wide, tall, and a yellowish white color. Now here's the same fog light in the OEM LED version from the 2018 and up Tundra. As you can see, the color is a significant improvement. It's that modern, crisp, pure white color. However, it's not very wide. Also, the beam pattern is quite tall. Again, like you'll find in all of the fog light options, there's no hot spot. And this OEM LED fog light came in at 420 maximum lux, over 3 times brighter than the OEM halogen fog light. This is the beam pattern for the Auer Automotive LED fog light. It has some hints of blue hue on the top and bottom. It's a nice curved beam, and it's way wider than both the original incandescent halogen fog light and the OEM LED fog light from the 18 and up Tundra. It appears to have a slightly more intense output than the OEM LED from the Tundra, but it actually measures about the same. The OEM LED 2018 and up fog light produces 420 maximum lux, and the Auer Automotive fog light in the same test produces 400 maximum lux. The Morimoto LED fog light is slightly different. It comes in at about the same brightness as the Auer Automotive and the OEM LED, just a little below. Auer Automotive was at 400 lux, OEM LED was at 420, and the Morimoto comes in at 360 maximum lux. Still a huge improvement over the original halogen fog light. It's not quite as wide as the Auer Automotive, and the intensity is really focused in the center section, so off on the edges you don't get quite as much intensity. It also has an interesting shape, and the color on the wall is a little bit more pinkish purple than the others. When examining the mounting holes and the face of the light, this is how this one is supposed to be shining when it's oriented up and down correctly. And that looks like a terrible fog light. That beam pattern should be kind of flipped like that. You need your cutoff line at the top. So I'm not sure if they just made this wrong or if it's supposed to be mounted upside down. And then you got this big dead spot, and then above it, there's a bunch of random glare. So I'm not sure what's going on with this one. It's actually pretty bright. Comes in at 330 maximum lux. It's not super wide, and the beam pattern is terrible. This is what I would call an off-road light, not a fog light. The point of a fog light is to increase brightness directly in front of your vehicle so that when it's foggy or rainy or snowy, you can see the road immediately in front of you. The 4 LED generic fog light that we got off eBay is awful. This is easily the worst one we've tested. The original halogen fog light came in at 120 lux and actually had a fairly decent beam pattern for that brightness. This one only comes in at 100 lux, less bright than the stock one, and the beam pattern is all but useless. We've got no width, it's a big flood, there's nothing useful here. And you've also got these rings all over the place. That comes from all the different LEDs inside casting their own shadows. Terrible light. This is the generic fog light we got from China that looks like a knockoff of the new OEM LED. The brightness is pretty decent. It comes in at 320 maximum lux, which is brighter than the original halogen bulb, but the beam pattern leaves a lot to be desired. It's not very wide, it's way too tall, and there's an awful lot of scatter and glare both on top of the beam pattern and below. As you can see, there's a lot of reflections from a poorly designed housing and reflector. I don't know about you, but that would drive me nuts, seeing all of that projected on the road in front of me while I'm driving at night. If you're looking for a high quality OEM grade LED fog light housing for your Tundra, look no further than the Auer Automotive 2-in-1. We think it's a great option, it's brighter than stock, and if you're looking for that DRL functionality, it's perfect. Check out the link in the description below the video if you want to see more pricing, specs, and other info on this product and other Tundra parts at headlightrevolution.com. Thanks for watching.